Hi there, and welcome to a demonstration of ShareVision's Filter Page Wizard. You're probably here really in a couple of different situations. One is you've either gotten the Filter Page Wizard recently, or you're thinking about obtaining the Filter Page Wizard because you're looking to get a little more functionality out of your ShareVision site. It's also possible that you have the Filter Page Wizard already. If you're a ShareVision Custom or ShareVision Essentials client, in both of those cases, the Filter Page Wizard is actually included. The Filter Page Wizard adds some additional functionality to your ShareVision site that was previously available only by getting us to build a filter page for you, or by digging into SharePoint Designer. So the Filter Page Wizard is really, we put it together to sort of make everyone's life easier, really, to be able to build your own filter pages quickly and easily, and add new forms that your staff can use in order to better service your clients. So let's get to it. Here are the sort of topics we're going to cover today. We are going to take a look at an overview of filter pages themselves. What a filter page is, just to make sure we're all on the same page, no pun intended. I'm going to talk about where to go to access the Filter Page Wizard. I'm going to talk about how to create a filtered list. A filtered list is another term for filter page. We use those interchangeably. I'm going to talk about where to go to find the filter page settings once you have a filter page set up. And, of course, point you to where you might need to go if you have additional questions regarding filter pages. So, first of all, what is a filter page? Well, I'll navigate over here to a ShareVision server. And a filter page is, you'll see here, first of all, that we are working on a ShareVision 3.5 server. If you're used to ShareVision 3.0 or ShareVision Essentials, you might notice things look a little bit differently, especially with regards to this menu on the left-hand side. But all of the functionality of the actual process, everything about the Filter Page Wizard is the same across all versions. So no need to worry about that. So if I pop over here into, say, Jimmy Anderson's page, look at his individual details. Great. Okay, so you can see, we have, there's his announcements in his profile, but we also have this menu along the left-hand side with all kinds of different forms and ways that staff might interact with ShareVision. So I'll open up, one such one that ShareVision comes with, Asset Management. Now, this is a great depiction of what a filter page is. You can see here, we have a list of assets that relate to Jimmy Anderson. A couple of things he owns, there's associated program or residence, things like that. And there's, of course, this Add a New Asset button. And this, in a nutshell, is a filter page. There's, of course, an asset management list on the back end of ShareVision. And that list, if you were to go there, would show the list of all assets belonging to all individuals that you support. But, of course, we got here through Jimmy Anderson's page, so this page is filtering for anything related to Jimmy Anderson only. It's a filter page. It's filtering for his kinds of assets. So that is the basics of a filter page. We have other kinds of filter pages as well, such as like this Goals and Progress page. The Goals and Progress page, as an example, we have these sorts of items filtered, goals specific to Jimmy, but then there's this additional filtering happening where we have all these progress goals relating to specific progress items related to each specific goal that Jimmy has listed on his site. This kind of filter page is not something that the Filter Page Wizard can handle, this sort of multiple layer of filtering. You can really only deal with, I guess, what we really call more single layer of filtering, that like the asset management page, the money page, these kinds of things. So now that we've sort of established what these do, I'm going to pop over here to the back end of ShareVision, and we'll talk about actually how to build a filter page and get to the wizard. So I'll click on the Site Actions button and go into View All Site Content. And that will, of course, bring us to this back end, and I've actually built a list here for the purposes of this demonstration called Time Tracker. And so you can take a look at this list. You can imagine a situation where, for some reason, you need to keep track of the amount of time that an individual you support is carrying out some sort of task or set of tasks. So I have a pretty standard, the date it occurred, the staff name, the activity that went on, the number of hours it took. Pretty standard stuff. You'll note I have not included a column for individuals yet, or a column for programs or residences, even though you would think those things might be helpful. They would be, of course, but I've left them off intentionally, and I'll show you why in just a sec. So I'll go into the settings for this list now. And you can see here under the Permissions and Management header, this bottom entry here says Filter Records for this list by individual/program/residence. That's a long way of saying go to the Filter Page wizard. So in order to access the wizard, we just need to click on that. And that brings us to this opening page. And you can see here from this page, there are these sort of three necessary steps you have to go through in order to build a filter page. What this first page of the wizard does is it's really prompting you to make sure that you have the sort of minimum requirements in place to build a filter page. So this first requirement, as an example, we had this yellow caution triangle thing, and you have to have management of content types enabled. Now, normally, in order to turn on content types, you would need to, go into the list settings, click Advanced Settings, change Show Management of Content Types from No to Yes, click OK. It's just a few clicks. It doesn't take very long, but it's a little process. We've actually automated that, really. You just have to have a Management of Content Types enabled here, and I can just click this gray button. Boom, we now have a green check mark. Management of Content Types has been enabled. It's turned on. This section option is for titling the default content type. The default content type on most lists you create is going to be the item content type. Now, of course, we recommend you generally rename it, largely because item in and of itself isn't that meaningful. You may recall from the asset management filter page, you would click on a button that says Add New Asset. And so there would be this asset content type that exists within the asset management list. This is a time tracker content type. And so, ShareVision looks at the name of the list. It says the name of the list is Time Tracker, so maybe you want to rename the default content type to Time Tracker. And so I'm going to click to do that. Great, so that's been renamed. Now, of course, there are situations where you might have named it yourself already, or you might have multiple content types. Let's say, you made this time tracker list, and you've already renamed the content type to something like log entry. In that case, ShareVision would still prompt you to change the default content type name, but in that case, you might not actually want to do it. And in that case, you can actually leave this one as a yellow triangle. You don't have to rename it if you don't want to. And finally, you may recall I just mentioned that I intentionally left off both the individual column and the programs or residence column. And the reason why is because of number 3 right here. ShareVision actually checks the list and it says, well, I have to filter on something. And I'm either filtering based on individuals or I'm filtering based on programs and residences. So I have to make sure that one or both of those columns is there. Now, of course, I didn't add either one of those columns, so ShareVision is saying, hey, you have to have those columns or this won't work. We have these gray buttons here, and now if you were only filtering based on individuals, you only have to add the individual site column. And, of course, if you were only filtering based on programs or based on residences, you only have to add that. Now, in this case, it actually probably makes sense for me to have both. If I was tracking time, I might want to track the time both related to the program that the individual was in, and, of course, the individual, him or herself. So I will click on this button. So now we have a green check mark. The following site column has been added, and I'm going to add it for program and residence as well. So you can see now both columns are there. And, if I want to just confirm everything looks the way I want it to look, I can click here to go back to list settings. But I know everything's okay, so I'm now going to click the gray button here, and we are ready to create a filter page. So let's go ahead. And that brings us to page 2 of the filter page wizard. And page 2 of the filter page wizard is really sort of digging into the details about how you want the filter page to actually look. So, of course, you can create filter pages as a calendar as well. If you wanted to create a filtered calendars, say some sort of new calendar around an individual's activity or activities in a program, something like that. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as a list. If you had multiple content types in this list, they would all be listed in this dropdown, but I don't. I just have the one, so I'm just going to leave that there. You, of course, here, because I have both the individuals column and the programs or residents column, I can choose to filter by any of those 3 things. I want to filter, in this case, by individual, and as soon as I click this, the page is going to change dynamically. So, and we get this entry that says, hey, when you are filling out this form, do you want to see the list, and there's this, program and residences column on this form. Do you want to see the list of every program and residence that exists in your organization, or do you only want to see the ones that this individual is actually already enrolled in? Probably most of the time you'd only want to see the ones the individual is enrolled in. Why confuse things? So I'm going to choose to filter. I can choose what fields I want to include in the actual filter page. There are certain things from ID, maybe modified by or modified. Maybe these are things that are not relevant for me to see on the filter page. So what would I probably want to see? Well, I'd want to see the dates. I'd want to see, the staff member involved, the program or residence involved, the hours involved, and let's say the activity. And actually, let's look at that even further. I can look at this and go, you know what? I don't want this to be displayed in this order. Maybe I want activity to be moved up, so I can highlight it and then select to move it up. I can choose to where I want, if I want the staff field to default to the current user or to who created it or something like that. I'm just going to choose none for now. It's not a big deal. Just like when you create a new list, and you can put in a description to prompt people, give them a little information about what should be included in the list. The same thing can be done for a filter page. I'll just put in a little description here just so we can see how that appears. You can choose a new item label. We have this, ShareVision is looking at the name of the content type and the name of the list, and it's saying, oh, this is called time tracker. So if maybe you want the new button, the add a new whatever, what do you want it to say? Do you want to? It's going to think time tracker because that's the name of the list. But you know what? Maybe that doesn't make sense. Maybe we actually want to call it time log entry. You can choose the number of items that appear before you have to click next to go to the next page. Let's say, as an example, 20 is pretty common, 30 pretty common. I'll just leave that for now. You can choose how you want the page to sort. This is a time log, so sorting by dates is a good way to go, so I'll leave that. You can choose what you want this to be called, you want this filter page to be called on the left-hand menu. Does time tracker make sense? Maybe, again, you might want to call it, time log or activity log, something like that. Maybe that would make more sense. I'll leave it as time tracker for now. And of course, when you look at the menu, things were split into different headings, and so you can choose what heading you want this new filter page to appear under. And let's say, general forms make sense to me, so I'll put it under general forms. And finally, you have to have one of these 3 bottom checkboxes checked off. You can choose to show this on all individuals' pages. Maybe you are going to be tracking activities for everybody. And maybe this is only a filter page that needs to appear in certain programs or certain residences. And so I can check that one off, and it will bring me a list, and I can select which programs or residences it makes the most sense for. And finally, let's say I can choose to show this only on select individuals pages. Maybe you're only tracking activity for specific people, and you will never really need to, it's not based on the program they're in, it's based on the individual that they are. So in that case, I could check that off, and it would bring me to a list of individuals, and I could add them in. However, I'm not going to complicate things too much for the purposes of this demo, so I'll just leave this to show for all individuals. I can click OK. And there we go. And ShareVision has now created a new filtered list. And this list actually shows all of the filter pages. It brings us to this list of all the filter pages that you yourself have created using the filter page wizard in ShareVision. So, of course, you'll note that it does not include existing filter pages, ones that came with your ShareVision system, one that were custom developed. Those are often done in a different way, so they wouldn't really show up on this list. I will, of course, show you a little bit later on how to navigate to this list if you need to get back here. But for now, let's look at the new list, the new filter page, excuse me, as it appears. So I'll navigate back over to Jimmy Anderson's page. And here we are. And you can see here, right at the bottom, we have Time Tracker under this General Forms header. And if I go into the Time Tracker, there we go. There's the description. There's the, Add New Time Log Entry button. And if I click on that, that brings us to a form that people would, input whatever relevant data there is. Now, one thing you may have noticed here is that Time Tracker, even though it's under a General Forms header, it's not actually under the same General Forms header that appears above. This is actually a little bit of a quirk of the way SharePoint works. Even though you put it under an existing header, what ShareVision has done is it has added it to the bottom of the list, basically. And it added Time Tracker to the bottom of the list, and it said, okay, which header should this go under? It should be going under General Forms, but I see the closest header is Reports. That probably means I should create a new General Forms header. Now, realistically, of course, this is probably not what you want. You probably want Time Tracker moved up here as part of this whole General Forms section. And so I can show you just briefly how to make that change. That change, incidentally, has nothing specifically to do with the filter page wizard per se. It has to do with just ShareVision and manipulating lists and things, manipulating links within ShareVision. This is something you have the freedom to do anytime. It has nothing to do with the filter page wizard. You can choose what links you want to appear and in what order you want them to appear, under what headers you want them to appear, and so on. So as an example of the sort of relevant things you need to think about here are something like the individuals details links. There's also program details links for program details pages, and of course residence details links. But we were worrying about Jimmy Anderson's page, and so that's definitely an individual details page. And I'll click on individuals details links here. And so this is a list of all the links that appear on the individual details page. And you can see here all the way down. The Time Tracker is at the bottom. There's General Forms, but of course it's a little bit separate from these General Forms items above. Very, very simple to make a change. All you have to do is under Actions, click on Change Order. And you can see here, we wanted to say appear after individual exit checklist. That's number 16. So let's make Time Tracker number 17. That'll bump missing person poster and program history down. Click OK. And now you can see Time Tracker is sort of grouped with these other General Forms items. And if I go back over here to Jimmy Anderson's page, you can see that we have it's now grouped in with the rest of General Forms. And so quickly, I'm just going to create a new log entry for Jimmy. It doesn't have to be very complicated. Let's just say it's called baking, and it's 3 hours and part of a test program. And click OK. So I have this new entry here for Jimmy. And let's say I'm going to pop over to another individual page. Let's say Jane Hutchins. And I'm going to create an entry for her as well, using the same program, which was test program. Let's say this was woodworking. for 5 hours. Great. Okay, so I can go here and I can take pop back over here to the time tracker sheet. And you can see both of those entries now exist on this page. Now let's say, you know, those were both put in as part of test program. And so maybe you think to yourself, you know what, it would be great to be able to see all of these time tracking activities on the program details as well, but grouped, you know, as part of the program. So what you would actually have to do is go back and create a new filter page that will appear on the program details page. Now I'm going to move through this one a little more quickly. I mean, this first page, we already have all the green check marks, so that's great. And I'm going to, I mean, most of these options are going to be the same. I can click on program. It's going to, again, do I want to filter now based on only the individuals that are enrolled in the program in the first place? So I'm going to choose the filter, and I'll just, you know, add a few new things in here. Not going to worry about the order too much. I'm not going to worry about a description. I don't really need to worry. For the purposes of this, I'm not going to worry about the rest of it. Of course, you can choose whether you want this to appear on all programs or just selected programs. I'll choose all programs, and I will click OK. So you can see here now we have two filtered lists. They're both dealing with the same list, but one's filtering by individual, one's filtering by program. And if I pop over here into the test program area, I can see the time tracker has appeared at the bottom. Again, I probably want to move that up, but I'm not going to worry about that for right now. Now, if I click on time tracker, I can see both entries, the entry for Jimmy and the entry for Jane. But of course, if I were to access this from just Jimmy's page, I would only see Jimmy, or from Jane's page, I would only see Jane. So it's filtering in this case based on the program that they're in. So that's great, and that, in a nutshell, is really the essence of how the filter page wizard works. But of course, let's say, you know, you have built a filter page or two, and you're thinking, yeah, you know what, actually, I want this button to say something different, or something hasn't been, oh, there's a column I want to add in, I forgot to add, or I want to remove. How do you get to change a filter page? So what you would do here is pop over into Site Actions and Site Settings. And you can see here under Galleries, there's a gallery called Filtered Lists. If I click on that, that brings us back to this page. This, again, of course, is the list of the filter pages that you've created using the Filter Page Wizard. And I can choose to do a couple things from here. I can navigate straight to the list itself. That's relevant. I can also choose to edit. Let's say, you know, as an example, if I wanted to add in a column that I realized was missing, I could click Edit, and that will bring us back to this second page of the Filter Page Wizard. And I can go, oh, I want the created by as well. Great, and then click OK, and there we go, the filter page will be modified. Of course, another thing that might happen is you create a filter page and you realize, you know, for whatever reason, you don't want it after all. It doesn't make sense for you to use, or there's a different way you want to approach things. In that case, you can click Remove Filtering, and what you're doing when you remove filtering is you are essentially blowing away the filter page. Now, one important thing to note that I get asked about a lot, you know, obviously you're very concerned about making sure that the data you have in the system, you know, doesn't get deleted accidentally by people. Now, removing filtering on a filter page will not impact your data in any way. All you're really doing when you click Remove Filtering is removing the way of looking at the list, the way of looking at the data. The data itself, the list itself, will remain intact, and everything will remain there the same in terms of the list itself. It's only the filter page, or that particular way of looking at the list, that will be removed. So you don't have to worry about, you know, if you've created 1,000 entries and then you remove filtering on a page, those entries will still be sitting there in the list itself. It's just that the filter page to access it and view them will no longer be there. That's it really for the Filter Page Wizard. Thank you very much for your time. We very much appreciate you taking a look and considering using the Filter Page Wizard. If you do have additional questions about the Filter Page Wizard and how it works, you can contact sales@sharevision.ca or give us a call at 866-971-4325, extension 2. Thanks again for watching, and happy filtering.